So yesterday we found out during Sony's State of Play that the leaks and rumors were true. We were getting a Sonic Generations remaster, and not only that, the rumors of it also including Shadow and a Shadow side story is also true, as we know the game is actually called Sonic x Shadow Generations, and it's going to feature a separate story going through Shadow's past where we learn about why he is the way he is, dealing with story beats and situations of his past, where it pretty much looks like we'll be diving into past levels from Shadow's history as well, which is super exciting. So today I wanted to kind of put a list together of all the games that Shadow has been in and all the levels that he could possibly have pulled into Sonic x Shadow Generations. So honestly, there's about 5 games that I think they could pull levels from for Shadow. You have Sonic Adventure 2, Shadow the Hedgehog, Sonic Heroes, Sonic 06, and of course Sonic Forces. Well, some of these levels were already shown off in the trailer, so we'll kind of touch on those for a quick second, but we're going to try to talk about any other stage that should be added to this game. Now, one thing that I want to add right now is that they might add stages that are really focused on Shadow's story, things that were really huge in his timeline. Because on the official website it says play as Shadow the Hedgehog in a brand new story campaign featuring never before seen powers and abilities. When Shadow's old nemesis Black Doom reemerges and threatens to take over the world, Shadow must journey into his own past, confront painful memories, face familiar foes, and unlock new powers to save the world and prove why he's known as the ultimate life form. So this isn't probably just going to be random levels for the most part. A lot of them are going to have to do with his story and, where he comes from, and probably reminding him where he comes from. So keep that in mind as we go through some of these stages. Yeah, hopefully there's not a stage for his painful memories of Maria getting shot again. That would not be good. So first, let's start with Sonic Adventure 2. There's 4 possible stages in this game that Shadow actually can play in, and that is Radical Highway, White Jungle, Sky Rail, and Final Chase. So first off, it looks like we already have a level inspired by Final Chase. Now, there's a lot of levels that actually feature the Ark up in space that has the same background and everything, so it could possibly come from Shadow the Hedgehog, as there is the Ark and space gadget levels in that game as well that definitely could just be a big combination of all these put together. And we can also say the same thing with Radical Highway. There is a quick clip of Shadow running through this highway section that's not actually taken from Sonic Adventure 2, and it seems like it's some new area that's remixed as everything's floating around, and Black Doom is kind of causing everything to happen and float around in the area. So this might be an altered version of Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2 that's not necessarily a direct callback like some of the other stages might be. We know Radical Highway is very important. It's literally the very first stage we get to use Shadow the Hedgehog and see him appear for the first time, so it's a pretty big deal for his history. And then that leaves Sky Rail and White Jungle, where I feel like the last one that they could probably add is White Jungle, which is a pretty big one for a lot of people. A lot of people remember this level from Sonic Adventure 2. It's actually a really good level at that, but this could also be a very important memory for Shadow. It's the second time that he sees Sonic, his doppelganger, and he actually fights him for the very first time and has to escape the island before it blows up. My fault. Blows up! Now we move on to Shadow the Hedgehog, and honestly, I cannot believe that we're actually talking about this game in 2024. The fact that there's also 23 different possible stages, I'm not going through all these things, okay? So I broke it down to some that I thought would both be kind of cool to see in a kind of remade stage, and also some that might be a little bit important to Shadow that they might actually want to call back to. So let's see what we already have. So right now they showed, it looks like some scenes of Westopolis already in the game. It's hard to tell if that's actually what it is, but it would make a lot of sense as one of the first missions of that game where Shadow actually appears to find out what's going on. Like I said before, it could just be one giant cultivation of city-themed stages for Shadow, so you have Radical Highway and Westopolis all kind of smashed together, all thanks to Black Doom and him sending all these things through time or something. We don't know the actual story, but Black Doom is just torturing Shadow, it seems like. But here's a couple that I think would be pretty cool. We have Digital Circuit / Circus Park, which would be cool because we don't really have a casino style of area right now in Sonic Generations. So, I mean, it's a really cool looking stage at that. That'd be a cool thing. We have the Ark / Space Gadget, which like I said already seems like it's in the game right now, kind of combined with Final Chase from Sonic Adventure 2. We already talked about Westopolis. We have Gun Fortress, which could be huge because because Gunn played such a huge role in Shadow's lifetime. I mean, they were constantly hunting him and Sonic over and over again and portraying Shadow as a supervillain, even though, yes, he did some wrong, but he was ultimately just trying to help and save them all. Death Ruins or even Glyphic Canyon has some cool locales, kind of like a jungle ruins type of area, which would be cool to see again. And you could say something like that for Cryptic Castle, more of a kind of mansion, haunted, creepy looking location, which we also do not have in Sonic Generations right now. But another one to kind of harken back to his story would be Black Comet. The Black Comet is actually where Black Doom and all his minions actually arrived on, as this comet came to Earth and they wanted to take over everything. So that could have a major role in this story, and maybe one of the things that Shadow actually has to take down once again is this giant comet, which is like a battleship for Black Doom and his army. Alright, let's move on to Sonic Heroes. Now, all Sonic Heroes stages are stages that any team can play, but of course Team Dark goes through these stages as well, so maybe they pull from some of them. None of them are super duper important to Shadow's story arc, but still some of these are some fun themed levels that I would love to see again. So the levels that you have on the table are Ocean Palace / Seaside Hill, which is already for Sonic Generations. We have Grand Metropolis / Power Plant. We have Casino Park or Bingo Highway. We have Rail Canyon / Bullet Station. We have Frog Forest / Lost Jungle. Hang Castle / Mystic Mansion, and Egg Fleet / Final Fortress. So I think 4 of these worlds would be really cool to see again. Once again, Casino Park / Bingo Highway, we have no casino stage in any of the Sonic Generation stages, which is still so weird since there's so many in Sonic's past, so it'd be really cool to get one of those again. We have Rail Canyon / Bullet Station, which is a really high speed level on rails and dodging all these bullet trains. I think could be cool to see again. You could do Hang Castle / Mystic Mansion. Once again, I would love to see kind of like that haunted stage again, since we don't have anything like that in Sonic Generations. Plus, I would literally die to hear a Mystic Mansion remix. Oh my goodness, that song is so good. And then you have the Egg Fleet / Final Fortress. I think this one would be the coolest, just to kind of go through this giant sky full of Eggman ships, and I feel like out of all the stages in Sonic Heroes, this one might make the most sense, as he's trying to get revenge on Dr. Eggman, and he's trying to kind of infiltrate his fleet of airships. And I think that would be really cool, just to go from airship to airship and fly through the sky, and maybe even have a part 2 of that stage where it turns to nighttime and we can actually play in Final Fortress, where you have that giant laser trying to shoot Shadow as well as he's going throughout the stage. I think they could do a lot of really cool things with that in a remix stage. Okay, for Sonic 06, we actually have 8 possible stages. We have White Acropolis, Kingdom Valley, Crisis City, which Sonic already has in Generations, Flame Core, Radical Train, Aquatic Base, Wave Ocean, and Dusty Desert. So 4 of these I think could be some good choices. You have White Acropolis, where we actually start the game where Shadow has to like break in this gun fortress area, and it's a really cool snow themed level. Once again, we don't have any snow themed levels in Sonic Generations. It would be really cool to have one here. We have Kingdom Valley, which is just a main focal point, I feel like, for a lot of the characters in Sonic 06, and it's a really cool looking area. It's like this old fortress, this old castle that's broken down. You have all these like wind tunnels and stuff, so that could be cool to return. Flame Core, simply due to the fact that maybe there could be an Iblis boss battle or something like that. It's hard to say. And then Dusty Desert, because this is kind of the end of Shadow's story, where he actually comes face to face with Mephiles, and he has a whole kind of like character arc and story revolved around this character, and he really just is trying to find this guy and finish him once and for all throughout the entire story. So he might get reminded of Mephiles, and shoot, I wouldn't even be surprised if we fight him in this game. But unfortunately, boss battles are for another video. And finally, that leaves us with Sonic Forces. Now, we'll say his role was kind of shoehorned into the game as like this little free DLC thing, and I really just don't understand why. It just felt like he was so forced into that game, but still, he pretty much just went through the same levels as Sonic and essentially went through the same story beats as Sonic, and just had to ultimately defeat Infinite at the end. So like, there's not a lot going on. He could fight Infinite again in this game, but yeah, you have a handful of stages, about 5 actually. You have Green Hill, which is Lost Valley. You have a city stage called Sunset Heights. You have Chemical Plant / Network Terminal. You have Metropolis's Metropolitan Highway, and then you have Eggman Empire Fortress, the Mortar Canyon. Now, we already have a Green Hill, and we already have a Chemical Plant, because it's in every Sonic game, it feels like. So there's 3 possible stages I think they could choose from. They could definitely do the city Sunset Heights, because it's one of the first times we see Shadow appear, and he actually comes in to help Sonic. So maybe we see something along those lines. It's hard to say. You could also do Metropolis, which makes a lot of sense, because this is where I think Shadow fights Infinite. Once again, it's been a very long time since I've actually played that little DLC bit, but that's kind of like Infinite's city, if anything. So I could see that like a big old white city city that we get to run through would be really cool to see again. And then we could have Eggman Empire Fortress, the Mortar Canyon, just kind of the end of the game where Shadow is kind of going throughout Eggman's fortress and like there's tons of cannons and stuff. It could be a cool themed area if they remade it. Any of these stages I think could be really good, because now if it's running under Sonic Generations engine and it's running under like the gameplay from Sonic Generations, I think we could be in luck. Let's hope that's the case. There has been some people out there that thinks it could be running under Forces and Frontiers engine. I hope that's not the case, but we're just going to have to wait and see. I think a lot of these stages can actually be made good thanks to Generations instead of it being Forces. And those are all the possible stages that we could get in this Shadow spin-off mode, which is really exciting considering the fact that there's going to be even more stages from Sonic history, which just makes this the ultimate Sonic Generations game. But of course, we also are going to have to talk about boss battles. As we've seen Black Doom and even the Bio Lizard, there's probably tons of other bosses that Shadow's going to have to face from his past, and that will be for a separate video. But if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and let me know what type of stages you want to see return for Shadow's story from Sonic Generations. Are there any other stages that you would love to see? Do you agree or disagree with my picks? Let me know in the comments down below, and make sure you leave a like and subscribe before you head out. And like always, I'll see you all on the next one. See ya, guys.